I'm curious for you as an investor, how this China tech crackdown is impacting your strategy and where you're putting your money.
Well, personally, I take a very long-term view on China. And obviously, hearing all these crackdown news about China on a daily basis almost. But I do want all investors to keep in mind that China is still the second largest, biggest market in the world. Over 1.4 billion people, 15 trillion GDP. Especially what I focus on in the venture space, just look at Sequoia China. They did 96 deals in the last 90 days. So things definitely are not slowing down per se. But having said that, of course, everyone in China needs to play by the rules. Doesn't really matter that you're Alibaba or Meituan or Didi or even the BPOC or the CIC. No one can really outsmart or outplay Chinese government. But having said that, particularly on SPAC and exit, really great to learn what's the latest going on with SPAC. Actually, one of my portfolio company called Day Cook mainly operates sort of the Tastemade of China. They are actually going on a SPAC on NASDAQ, very soon merge with Ace Global. That is still happening. So in some sense, I think, go ahead.
Would you say, have you changed your strategy at all, given the China crackdown? Are you putting in just as much money as you would have, or are you changing where that money goes?
I really want to go back to China because of COVID. I've been here for 2 years now, and not able to go back really makes it really tough for me to invest in China. Mostly from a raise capital strategy is to focus on early stage, put in early and support on infrastructure software. Right now, the world is so big and everybody really work distributed and remotely. So it doesn't really matter they are in China or not. But I have to say that most of the reinvestment lately has been mostly in Silicon Valley. We invested in Databricks, we invested in FTX. Those are all super global and go to market in both worlds.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned FTX because they recently moved their headquarters from Hong Kong to the Bahamas, in part because of this crackdown. And so I guess I'm curious, over the long term, how do you see this playing out in China? I mean, do you see the Chinese government easing up on some of these restrictions? Or if this is, the long-term strategy, how do you think that impacts the tech ecosystem there long term?
I think tech ecosystem need to play by the rules. It doesn't really matter how big you are. You have to comply by Chinese law. And especially recently with this year, the data privacy protection law is key thing. I think as an investor, you need to be aware of that. I don't think we should drift our investment strategy just because what's happening in China, but it's something that we have to keep in mind. There is certainly still tons of upside because the market is so big. But then at the same time, there could be some ceiling because of what's going on. I do think that there's certain industries, particularly more interesting for venture, particularly on the semiconductor and healthcare, because it's not really as close to data, consumer data, which is very sensitive in China. So therefore, being an investor, we just need to be super nimble and pay attention to what's going on in China.
And what about crypto in particular? I mean, trading, mining in China has become illegal. So is crypto a more extreme example? How do you see the crackdown there impacting the broader landscape and investing?
So China always have a love-hate relationship with crypto. And in 2008, that's when I was still going back to China full force. China was the #1 in terms of crypto mining and was the #1 in terms of crypto trading. And since 2017, they banned ICO. 2018, they banned fiat to crypto trading, which then you started to see Binance crypto to crypto trading. In 2019 until today, crypto mining is all banned. So in that sense, the biggest difference I do wanted to point out is that when the first crackdown happened, it really impacted Bitcoin prices to about 3,000. Today, according to CoinGecko, it's about $55,000 equivalent for Bitcoin. So I think that the crackdown in China on crypto, in some sense, is rebalancing the crypto ecosystem, and longer term is actually a good thing for the blockchain ecosystem because now China influence is actually getting less and less.